Okay. Hello, everyone. I have Ron Cohen today, a very special guest, and I would like Ron to introduce himself today. Go ahead, Ron.
Thanks. Hi, Vina, and thank you very much for inviting me along. I'm looking forward to our chat. So my name's Ron Cohen, and I'm a partner in a city-based law firm, and my specialty areas are property and business law.
Beautiful. And nowadays that, everyone is affected in some ways in the market, or, whether it's property managers, or whether it's investors, or whether it's in the commercial space, I think you will have a lot to contribute today, Ron.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I had a few points that I jotted down, which I thought were very relevant. And the first one was I do a lot of conveyancing, people buying and selling properties, and there's a lot of restrictions in terms of how people can access properties.
Correct.
To do their final inspections, to do their repairs. So I've actually been advising agents, I've been advising vendors, and I've been advising purchasers.
Yes.
I've got a matter at the moment where there's a bit of a dispute about whether work to repair certain things have been undertaken, and it's just so hard because can you get a tradie to come out and do the work?
I can imagine.
And the answer is, if it's a lead up to settlement, yes, you're allowed, but there still are restrictions with social distancing and the number of people and everything. So that's a really big one.
Yes.
The other one that I had is for commercial leasing. So I do a lot of commercial leasing, and from early this year, the federal government put in a mandatory code of conduct for commercial leasing. That's resulted in statewide legislation. So the Victorian legislation is in place. That's now been extended from the end of September till the end of the year, possibly beyond. Okay. And yes. The main effect is that if a tenant, as a result of COVID, if they qualify for JobKeeper, if their turnover goes down, they're entitled to a rent reduction, and the expectation is that the reduction in the rent will be commensurate with the drop in turnover, and there's obligations on landlords to make offer to give the tenant rent reduction, partially deferred, which means it can be paid at a later date, and partially waived. It's got to be a minimum of 50% waiver, which means the landlord will never collect it and the tenant will never be obliged to pay it. So that's a really big, significant law directly as a result of COVID.
Yes, I think that's quite extensive as well. So this is in the commercial space, am I right?
That's in the commercial space. There are corresponding provisions with the residential as well, but yes. Lawyers generally really only deal with commercial leases.
Yes.
It's more property managers that deal with residential, but again, there is law on that. There are restrictions as to how a landlord, whether they can actually apply the bond,
yes.
The security deposit, whether they can evict tenants. There's a lot of restrictions in relation to those issues as well. Again, yes. Both on the commercial leasing and the residential leasing side of things also. And the only other one I think that's really relevant for COVID and all of the restrictions that we've got in these times is really estate planning. You really need, for example, it's really good to have powers of attorney, because we've had elderly people that might be in old age that might not be able to get access to funds or might have to sell assets. And if they've got a power of attorney, for example, if it's their children, the children will be able to deal with assets and deal with financial affairs of elderly people. So I've found that to be very important. And the other one, unfortunately, is really getting your wills in order as well, because you just don't know. It's such an uncertain future.
Oh, yes.
And I've again been giving that advice quite regularly. Just make sure your estate and financial affairs are in order. It's a very important point.
Yes, that's excellent, Ron. So I think not everyone is on board, especially if they have families who are, you know, are sick and so forth. So I think you made some
Mm-hmm.
good points there. Have your finances organized and also your will organized, and that is the PRA and so forth, the power of attorney.
Yes.
That's very important. And I think today in, you know, the environment that we are all in, commercial leases and tenants and landlords are severely affected, and I understand that the situation is quite complex, so you have shed some light there. So if anyone would like some information, Ron, I think they can reach out to you.
Yeah, please, don't hesitate. I'm very happy. I've been dealing with a lot of new clients, a lot of existing clients, and the one thing I would say is
Yes,
really in these times, if you're affected, be proactive. Don't just sit back and wait and expect things to be okay. There's a
totally.
lot of, yeah, really, there's so many changes that are affecting, you know, literally everyone. So I think be proactive, and where appropriate, get advice from the
Yes,
appropriate experts, whether it's a lawyer, an accountant, a mortgage broker like you. I mean, I'm sure even in
yes.
terms of people applying for
Oh,
loans, it's
yes.
so different now. Get
Yep,
advice from
yep.
the expert, and be proactive. Don't just sit back. I think that's really very important. That'd be my strongest advice to everyone.
Yes, definitely. And I think in the industry, we have very good expert, and I think we can all come together so that we can help one another and help our clients in the best light. Because
Yeah.
if in the finance industry policy keep changing, you know, and I think everybody needs to be on board with what's happening around them, and we are here if, you know, people need to reach out. So you've given anyway some very valuable information today, Ron, and I'm very grateful to have you on board. Thank you kindly for your time today.
My pleasure. My
Yes,
pleasure, Vina. Thank
yes,
you.
and we'll be in touch, and probably maybe touch base in 3 weeks' time.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Okay. No,
Yeah,
thank
thank you
you.
kindly. Thank you kindly, Ron, and thank you everybody, and take care and keep safe. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everyone.